The wait is over. You were waiting, right?
Oh, God. No. Please, no.
The end is nigh. Darwin and Kat are back.
Radio. It used to be magical. Picture it. Close your eyes. Unless you're driving, don't do that. But picture it in your mind. A voice from somewhere far away in an undisclosed location, but they feel like they're there with you and only you, even though they're speaking to thousands of people and they're sharing really incredible music, great stories. A friend you've never met, but at the same time, a companion that's always there when you need them.
Take a lively companion wherever you go. Take a portable radio.
You learn to love songs you might not have otherwise given a chance. You didn't know what would happen next, and that was actually a good thing. Radio was something special.
Who listens to radio?
And we both wanted to be part of that magic. On this episode, we're talking about how we fell in love with radio. Radio changed everything in our lives.
My earliest toddler memories all involve radio because I was obsessed with music, and it was a time of big AM Gold, Rhinestone Cowboy, The Streak by Ray Stevens, and Darwin, yeah, even the Carpenters.
God damn it, Kat.
I know how you feel about them.
Oh, do you know it's not,
But it wasn't the Carpenters that got me into radio. It was the legendary KROQ in Pasadena that kicked off my obsession into high gear. I don't know if you know this, but that's not only because I was a KROQ listener. I started hanging out at the radio station when I was 13.
13? Really?
Yeah.
What?
Yes.
13?
Okay, so for a little background, if you didn't grow up in LA, KROQ was Mecca. In the 80s and the 90s, they played everything that was cool first, and the other alternative stations would look at them to build their playlists. But all I knew when I was 13 is this must be the coolest place on earth, and I have to go there.
Yeah, KROQ was legendary. It was truly Mecca, and it was incredible. So how do you end up hanging out there as a kid? Like you're a child. You're 13,
I'm a literal
school.
child. Oh, the typical reason, because I had a report due for my 8th grade social studies class. And the assignment, oh my God, Mr. Ingraham, I'll never forget. He said, interview someone in your life that's interesting or inspirational. And everybody was doing a grandparent. And I immediately called KROQ and asked if I could come down there and interview some of the disc jockeys. And it was Rodney who agreed.
Now, did you say you were in 8th grade and you were 13, or did you just call and say it's a school project?
I pretended that I was part of like the college paper, but I was so obviously not in college. I was also a late bloomer and really small for my age. So I probably looked about like 10 years old at the time. Yeah.
Now, I'm familiar with a lot of the legendary jocks from KROQ, but for KROQ, but Rodney, tell me a little bit about Rodney.
So Rodney, he's very legendary. He started, his nickname was Rodney on the Rock, and he was the guy who broke Rodney on the Rock. He broke Duran Duran. He was the first to play the Go-Go's, No Doubt, the Sex Pistols. And he was the only one who said, come on down, I will help you with your report.
Unbelievable. There's like 5 hardcore punks in the whole city of Palm Springs, and they all hang out at this place called Bates Skateboard. It's on Palm Canyon Drive. That's where they all hang out. And they actually listen to KROQ and Rodney on the Rock, and everyone like yells out of their cars, KROQ, the Rock, and everything. It's really insane.
Now, you've started to kind of do an impression there, and
Rodney, it's Godhead. Okay, the thing about Rodney is he's so amazing on the air because he is not your typical broadcaster. You will hear him shuffling papers. You will hear him just like losing his place and like getting upset over it.
Let me adjust the mic here. Hello.
Actually kind of sounds like me, but he's got a voice, Belinda Carlisle was here. It was rad. It was Godhead. We were hanging out. So that is Rodney. And
he was kind of this lovable character that he was kind of a train wreck, but it was a good kind of train wreck.
Yeah. And he's also my height as of 8th grade. So that was really interesting. And he was wearing some big shoes. So I might have actually towered over him. And I'm a short gal.
You're not. You're
I'm
not very
fun
tall.
size. Okay. If you had a Snickers bar, it would be that. But here's the thing, Darwin. After I interviewed him, it was an incredibly stiff, awkward interview. Who is your favorite band and why do you like radio? And all that crap. I just kept going back. I just kept hanging out at KROQ.
So your parents were cool with this. You're like, where are you going, Catherine? And you were like, I'm just going to hang out down at the radio station.
Okay, so this is the most Gen X story, the most feral generation story ever. My parents would drop me off at KROQ. Of course they did. I didn't drive yet. My mom would be like,
but wait, but set the scene. What kind of car is it?
okay, we had a Chevy Malibu that was bright green. My mom had like bumper stickers. She actually had like a Barry Manilow bumper sticker because I love Barry. Who has a Barry Manilow bumper sticker? We did, driving into the KROQ parking lot. And it wasn't close by. And it was a long drive. If you know Southern California, I lived in the South Bay on the Palos Verdes Peninsula. At the time, KROQ was way up in Pasadena, but I just said, hey, I want to go hang out at KROQ. I just talked to them and they said it's cool. So my parents would drop me off and my mom would just say, bye, Catherine. Say hello to Adamant. If you meet him, he's so gorgeous.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And I met, at this time I was 14. I met all the KROQ jocks. I met the Poorman, Richard Blade, Swedish Eagle, Jed the Fish, Dr. Drew, who's immensely famous now, from Loveline and every place in the world. And I met some rock stars. I met Lena Lovitch, the Bad Brains. But my favorite rock star of all time, I had a very close encounter with him, and it's not what you think.
Oh, okay. So this was
no, it's G-rated. It's like so G-rated. I'm sitting in the in the studio.
You're going to build up to this.
Yeah, I'm sitting in the studio.
You're going to keep me in suspense.
Absolutely.
Okay.
You got to wait.
Do I do it?
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. No, you'll know who he is. I'm sitting in the studio. Next to me on my left is Rodney, and there was also a guy running the board. And there's like a light going off in the studio, and it means somebody's at the back door. And Rodney said, "Hey, Kat, can you let Rick in? He's here now." And I said, "Oh, okay, Rick." So I get up and I walk down the long hallway in KROQ, and I open the door, and it's Ric Ocasek from the Cars.
Oh, wow.
And he's looking at me like, "Why is a child here? Do they have child labor at KROQ?" But he like, okay. So he comes in, he sits down, and it was a big block of songs playing. And so we weren't talking on the air. And Rick looks around and he spots like this little candy dish that like your grandma would have. And he leans over to me because I could reach it better than he. And he goes,
"Excuse me, can you pass me those jujubes?"
I passed the jujubes to Ric Ocasek.
So this was like your crowning big moment.
That was my big moment. Who knew? I mean, I thought he was a milk duds fella. No, jujubes.
Do you think those were there just for him?
No, but he was pretty eagle-eyed with the snacks.
He was all over it. Wow. Now, did you talk to him more? Or were you just like?
I was really starstruck, and I was very, very quiet. I was just so shy and nervous. I'm like, "Here are your jujubes, Mr. Cars."
Mr. Cars. But I mean, that's such a great story to encapsulate what KROQ was like then, because celebrities and bands and artists would just show up.
Everybody would drop by. Rodney would be the first to play everything and anything. That was cool. And they were so far ahead of their time. But yeah, that was me.
That is so cool.
And then my mom and dad would, come pick. They went off and had dinner at the Velvet Turtle, wherever. And they came and picked me up. And I told them the jujube story.
No, it makes sense. That is so cool.
Yeah, so that was my early obsession. Now you were obsessed with another heritage alternative station.
I was obsessed with WEQX, which we have talked about. And that came later, though, when I was a teenager and into college. I mean, I had a banner on my wall in my dorm room. There's a whole bunch of photos from college, and there's a big EQX banner. And there's a family reunion photo I just saw. My aunt passed away recently, and we were, it was on our wall, the family reunion, and I'm wearing an EQX shirt. I mean, it was a big deal. But before EQX, It was actually the AM radio, kind of like you know, those big AM stations before we got into FM. And mine was anything I could get at night. I was really into, 1560 WQEW out of New York City, even though it was big band music. And I loved it. I could get WSM from Nashville. I didn't care for the music, but somewhere like Chicago or St. Louis or further west.
Which is incredible because you're a kid in New York.
Yeah, you did this too, like just tuning in, right? That nighttime AM radio from far away.
Yeah, it was amazing to me. I mean, it may sound nerdy because it is, but hearing a faraway station is just kind of magical. And I did it all the time.
Yeah. And it's something I think today you can still do it, but not like we could, where you think about this collective experience. Thousands of people in dozens of states are all listening to the same program that's live from some faraway place. And it was so cool. It was just amazing, And so when I was in middle school, though, that kind of evolved, and I got away from the AM stuff. And,
well, times changed too because the internet has killed all that. If you pick up a faraway radio station on their stream, it's like, so
you're right, and it might not even be live, and it's so accessible. Like you kind of had to work with the AM to find a station, and you didn't know what city it was in. You had to listen for a while to find that out,
and had to tune it in just right.
You did. And it was kind of a game. And it was just, there was a certain magic to it that unless you were there to experience it, it's really hard to explain it. It's something special. When I was in middle school, I think that a lot of people did this too. Casey's Top 40. And I would listen every Sunday. And I started keeping track of the charts myself. I would listen to Fly 92, which, we end up in the same building as them. And I would try to guess what the number one would be. And I got pretty good at it. I started to really kind of figure it out. I became obsessed with keeping track of those charts. And
as much as I ignored the top 40 growing up because I was just like this little punk rock girl, I always listened to America's Top 40. I mean, I loved Casey Kasem. I loved the way he counted things down.
And I think that I'm not a big CHR person, but there was something about Casey in the show that it was manufactured, but perfectly done so.
Yeah, it's a good way to put it.
Yeah, he just had a way about him that a way was put together. And then even the corny long distance dedications, they were so corny, but they were great. There was something bad but good about them. And I just got to the point though, where in 1994, around then, middle school, I became really I was introduced to alt rock, and that was that alternative radio revolution.
It'll change your life. Punk rock saved my life.
And all of a sudden there's this whole new world of music. And I had this weird splitting of my time. So third of my time, Fly 92, because I was wanting to hear what was new. And a third of my time, I had discovered WEQX at that point. Mm-hmm. And then the other third was a super local station out of Bennington, Vermont, WHGC, which was on 94.3. It's public radio now, but they used to sign off the air at midnight. They had this all request program on. I couldn't call though, because I was in New York State, and to call 20 minutes away in Vermont was a long distance phone call. So
Brian, is this you? Did you make this call? Sorry, Mom. Yeah, it's true. We had to call it like certain times of the day, so it cost less. It was a Stone Age.
It was. And now it's like, I remember one time, I had a friend in Bennington, and we had a sleepover, and we got to call the radio station. It was a big deal. Right.
Really?
So,
at my house, cool. We were just breaking into the brandy closet and doing Bloody Mary, but okay.
Yeah, I know. I was such a lame kid. No, I was.
Good boy.
You ever hear that long distance dedication from Casey that went south?
I'm obsessed with it.
Okay, I knew you would know this. What was it? I refresh my memory. What was that about?
He had to do a dedication for a dead dog.
Oh, that's right. Do you have that audio?
I do.
Of course you do. Of course you do. You do.
Now, we're up to our long-distance dedication. And this one is about kids and pets and a situation that we can all understand, whether we have kids or pets or neither. It's from a man in Cincinnati, Ohio. And here's what he writes. Dear Casey, this may seem to be a strange dedication request, but I'm quite sincere, and it'll mean a lot if you play it. Recently, there was a death in our family. He was a little dog named Snuggles, but he was most certainly a part of... Let's go start again. From coming out of the record. Play the record, okay? Please. See, when you come out of those up-tempo goddamn numbers, man, it's impossible to make those transitions. And then you got to go into somebody dying. They do this to me all the time. I don't know what the hell they do it for, but goddamn it, if we can't come out of a slow record, I don't understand it. Is Don on the phone? Okay, I want a goddamn concerted effort to come out of a record that isn't a fucking up-tempo record every time I do a goddamn death dedication. Now, make it, and I also want to know what happened to the pictures I was supposed to see this week. This is last goddamn time. I want somebody to use his fucking brain to not come out of a goddamn record that is, that's up-tempo, and I got to talk about a fucking dog dying. Boy, this is fucking ponderous, man. Ponderous, fucking ponderous.
And that's exactly why I love radio. Because Casey said what we're all thinking.
I always knew in the back of those requests when you were listening to the show, that's what he really thought.
There was an edge. There was a sprinkling of something a little bitter there, definitely.
Yeah, you knew he was a real guy underneath there. That's great. Thank you, Internet, that we can listen to that today. So my first time at a radio station was much later in life, and it happened to be EQX. I was at community college, and I was studying photography initially. And I had, like you, I used an assignment to get into the radio station.
We are such nerds. I love it.
Yeah, I was like, and we had to do documenting the day in a life of. So I reached out to them and I said, can I document a day in the life of the radio station? And I still have the photos. I lost the written assignment a long time ago. And I smoked back then, stupid, right? And I was so nervous. Like I was like chain smoking. I left with a migraine that day from smoking. It was so stupid. But I had about 10 rolls of film and I actually got some really amazing shots that day of everybody, the staff. And I went back, a couple of weeks later, delivered the photos. But I got to spend the day with everybody. These were all the people that I was obsessed with.
These are like, to us, like big stars. Like radio people were big stars in our world.
Yeah. Yeah, at the time Pete and Donna were the morning show, and I got to hang out with them in the studio. I mean, yeah, to you, it's like when you're a kid or even college, they were, and actually people in radio back then, they kind of were, you're right, you said, they were big stars to us. And they were actually local famous people. It was just so cool. And I got lucky the overnight person had come in to do production, so I got to meet her. But then I first learned about voice tracking. That day too.
The magic of voice tracking.
Yeah.
So you can hit the road early.
Really because I'm not really here overnights. And then I met Brooks for the first time. The
owner of WEQX, the wild and wonderful Brooks Brown.
The Maverick. And he was as intimidating the first time I met him as every other time when I worked for him later in life. I never thought I'd end up working there. So it's so crazy. It was cool. It was surreal. And then, I ended up going to college.
Right. So then you made the jump to actual on-air college radio.
Yes. So I said it all. I was at community college and I
I didn't mean to call that not an actual college.
No. But a 4-year college.
Got it.
So I had a criteria. They had to have a dark room because I was really into photography then. And that was going to be my backup career, by the way, for radio, which is really dumb. Yeah. Like,
You're talking to an English major, so I mean, come on.
Yeah, we made some excellent career choices.
Woo!
Maybe accounting would have been no, I can't count, so that would have been a bad.
Numbers are hard.
So they had to have a dark room, and I wanted an on-air radio station, not a carrier current. So people don't know what that is, but a lot of colleges had a carrier current, which basically used the electrical wiring in the dorms to broadcast, and it didn't broadcast outside of the dorms.
Might have made it to the laundry room, and yeah, it's just a closed system.
Yeah, and I didn't want that. Or a streaming one, didn't want that. I wanted something on the air, and NAU had that. So that's how I ended up at NAU. I wanted to go in California, or I got accepted to, I want to say UCLA, or I don't know. It was like yes, I got into a broadcast program and I think it was UCLA. But they have multiple campuses, right?
Yeah, University of California is like 7 or so.
Yeah, it's kind of like SUNY has a bunch of, but they don't. I forget which one it was, but I did get accepted, but the cost was way too much. So yeah, and I don't think I don't remember, but I ended up going to NAU.
Excellent choice, sir. That's where I went to.
Which is so funny. We're both grads of NAU as well. So I ended up there and immediately got involved with the radio station there. It was KJAC because they're the Lumberjacks.
See, the mascot at Northern Arizona University is a lumberjack, but I thought for like 6 months he was an axe murderer. I thought, oh my
Louis
God.
The lumberjack.
Yeah, no, Louis the axe murderer. He's got a big axe. What do you think he's going to do with it? He's going to go on a chop spree one day.
So they have they used to be called the muffler men. Those big fiberglass guys with the beard, and they repurposed his, instead of holding a muffler, to hold an axe.
Oh, and that started his life of crime. Okay.
Yeah, his life of crime. I love Louis.
I love Louis too, but let me believe that he has a past.
Okay, I kind of like the dark side of Louis. Well, there was a redesign there was Scary Louis for a handful of years, maybe about a decade ago.
Yeah, he looked like he was all roided out, so they wanted to like make him look a little happier.
Yeah, they were Scary Louis. They got rid of. You're right. So maybe that was the axe murderer.
It was Road Rage Louis. Yeah.
Yeah, if you go Google Louis the Lumberjack NAU, you might find Scary Louis. So, which is the best. I think it's the best mascot because it's so weird.
Well, UC Santa Cruz has a banana slug. That's pretty weird too.
Yeah, but Louis is fun weird. That's just dumb.
Well, Louis would be more fun at a party.
Yeah.
Hey, look, it's a 14-foot tall lumberjack with an axe. Let him in. Let's do shots.
Exactly. And he's probably got some good stories too.
Better than a banana slug slithering in, hitting all the girls and crawling up their legs.
I actually found a cassette cleaning out some boxes not that long ago in my afternoon show from KJack. And my
co-host
co-host was Julie. It was terrible.
Wait, oh, you had a co-host before me?
I'm sorry.
Oh,
yeah.
God. All right. That stings.
She suffered like you did too. Poor Julie.
Oh, she knew your moods very well.
But this was in the afternoon, so I wasn't moody.
Okay, you had a little sleep. Took the edge off.
We did mornings the following semester, though, so she did.
How'd that work out?
Me.
Do you guys still talk?
We do. Yeah. Actually,
oh, nice. Okay.
Once in a while, we'll chat online, and Julie was cool. It was terrible though. Some of the air checks, I'm listening to it, and I'm like, oh, but it's good terrible because college radio is supposed to be terrible.
It was terrible for me. I did a college radio briefly.
Yeah. Well, no, but just follow me real quick. Like, college radio is good when it's terrible. Like, it's a special kind of terrible that's supposed to be good.
It's a very endearing terrible.
Yes. Yeah. And you're supposed to learn and it's cringy, but it's the good cringy if it's done right, if that makes sense.
And it could be done very, very long. So I did
not know you did college radio.
Yeah, I was a radio.
I learned about you now.
Yeah, I was a radio major for 2 semesters at a college in Beverly, Massachusetts. And they had a radio station where, talk about things going wrong. I went on the air because I was just in the radio class. And one day, the girl who was supposed to do a shift had laryngitis. And have you ever tried to talk when you have laryngitis?
What do you mean?
Yeah, it was terrible. Yeah. So she did a few minutes of her shift and she was trying to talk through it. And they just pulled her off the air and they stuck me on. And after that, they asked,
this sounds like how you got hired at EQX.
Pretty much. But there was a problem with the programming on this college station because the station manager loved the Spin Doctors. And he insisted that 2 Princes be played every hour. You can kind of wind back and figure out what year this was. And I hate the Spin Doctors so much. I changed to an English major. I'm like, no, I can't. No.
I got 2 things for you here.
Yeah?
I got 2. Well, first of all, Spin Doctors, do you know who broke them? Do you know what radio station broke them?
A radio station in the 7th circle of hell.
Actually, somewhere you spent a lot of time.
Was it EQX?
Yes, it was.
Oh, no way. It's their fault? Okay.
It's their fault.
Oh, my God. Why?
They were really proud of that.
They are my carpenters.
Yeah.
I get a hive reaction if I hear 2 Princes.
Well, you really have you do have a disdain there. All right. So I actually have a funny story involving the lead singer.
Oh, God.
Kind of a sidebar.
I got to hear this.
Okay. So it's kind of funny. I'm laughing because I'm with you. I was kind of like eye roll whenever I heard they have 3 hits, but it's the same song, I swear. And I ended up hanging out. Chris Barron, he's the lead singer from Spin Doctors. And this was the most random thing. So he was in town to do a show with some other artists. And I ended up randomly hanging out with him. And I got to say, he's a cool guy. I support your dislike of the band. But, this was just this random night. So it was him, Rob Dickinson from the Catherine Wheel.
Oh, wow. Oh, I love them.
And Mike Doughty from Soul Coughing.
You mean, wait, did they do Super Bon Bon?
Yes, and actually that song comes up in the story, which is really funny.
Okay.
These 3 guys, they're at this festival, and Rob Dickinson, he's from England, and he's like, is there a proper pub around here? And we were in Troy, New York. So
yeah, and you would be the guy to ask for sure.
Yeah, and I was like, well, there's a really great brewery, Brown's, which we love Brown's.
Mm-hmm.
And so we went a couple blocks. We walked a couple blocks to Brown's Brewing. I know the owners, and we were like, yeah, they put us upstairs. There's kind of a private room, and we were up there. And I think Mike Doughty wasn't drinking. I don't remember. Somebody wasn't, but we were hanging out there. And about an hour in, there was a cover band downstairs that started. Just by chance, guess what they start to play?
I'm going to guess they started playing the Spin Doctors.
Yep.
Oh,
it was
God.
Little Miss Can't Be Wrong.
Oh, no. Yes, that was the other one. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and Chris Barron looks at the other two guys, looks at Rob Dickinson, looks at Mike Doughty, just kind of looks at the two guys, and they both simultaneously go, you have to go down there and join the guy.
You're up.
So
You're up, Spin
they're
Doctor.
kind of daring him. Yeah. And so he did. And so I kind of follow him down just because I want to see this.
Sure.
And he just walks up on the little stage, and it's not much of a stage. He walks up on him, and the
Like
guy
a half step up.
Yeah, it was literally half a step. And the guy kind of looked at him like, who the hell's this guy? What's
Who's
going
this
on?
weirdo?
Yep. And Chris Barron just leans in and starts singing it along with him. The guy, it took him about a half second. All of a sudden he realizes, holy shit, this is the guy whose song I'm singing.
I bet, I just got to say, I bet the guy who was in the cover band is still telling the story all these years later. Once I was singing Little Miss Can't Be Wrong, and Mr. Can't Be Wrong started harmonizing with me.
I bet you're right. I'm sure he tells this story. Like it's, and you gotta, I don't blame him. Can you imagine
That's a good
being in a cover band and the guy whose song you're singing just randomly shows up?
Yeah.
It's kind of cool.
That is the magic of Troy, New York.
And so I got up on stage kind of after the song and I said, ladies and gentlemen, Chris Barron, he's in town. And then I kind of said, hey, do you guys want to hear another Spin Doctor song? Chris, do you want to do a song with them? And he was all like, yeah. And the band's like, yeah. So he did like their other song that sounds exactly
And you
like,
said, yeah, play the same one more time.
It was Two Princes, but it sounds like Little Miss Can't Be.
This one's actually called Three Princes. We just wrote it.
It's a whole new song, but it sounds like the other. They have there's a third hit that sounds like those two as well.
Are there more princes?
I don't know. I don't remember the other one. So I went back upstairs. Then this is the other funny part is I go back upstairs and Rob Dickinson goes to Mike Doughty and me. He goes, bet none of them know Black Metallic, which was a huge Catherine
Wheel song. Amazing
which
song.
is great. And then Mike Doughty goes, I'm not doing Super Bon Bon. Mm-mm.
We're just going to fly under the Spin Doctor radar right now.
But the way he was like, I am not doing Super Bon Bon. And at the end, he's like, mm-mm. I was just like,
I'm just soaking this all in. So you drank a pumpkin IPA with a guy who killed my college radio career. Well, I mean, I killed it, but I blame him.
Yeah, it was in the spring, so it probably wasn't pumpkin, but I'll let you picture that image. Yes, I'll go with that. Yeah. Yeah, we had quite a few beers. So it was crazy. But he was a really nice guy, okay? He ruined your college career. He's actually a really nice guy. So I wish he just had songs that sounded different.
I'm just permanently damaged by Spin Doctors. If you've heard the Spin Doctors, you may be entitled to compensation. I'm just looking for the class action lawsuit.
They really are your carpenters.
Truly. No, I'm cool. I mean, you told me he's a cool guy. I'm cool with the Spin Doctors now. Maybe. Maybe
you're just cool with Chris Barron.
Sure. Come on over. We'll have a pumpkin IPA
cool.
finally.
Yeah, there you go. Maybe this fall, let's have a reunion. We'll get Chris Barron there, right?
Beer brings everyone together.
It does. Yeah. Can you have beer?
No.
Okay. So this is the trap.
Not unless you want to jab an EpiPen in my face.
Yeah, you're going to have one. Then you're going to blame Spin Doctors for trying to kill you.
God damn it. They're trying to ruin my life all over again with their wheat beer.
After that little detour into our bizarre life. So what did anything else happen for you career-wise, like radio-wise? Like what else inspired you in radio?
Once I discovered Howard Stern, it's actually... You'll never guess who turned me on to Howard Stern. So I'm just going to tell you. It was my mother who told me I should start.
Wait.
Yeah.
Your mom?
She started watching the Channel 9 show and she said, Catherine, this man, he's a New Yorker and he's so funny. And there's a Baba Booey on the show. And I had no idea what she was talking about. There's a Baba Booey on the show. And I'm like,
your mom?
My mom loved Howard. She thought he was so funny. And he'd just been syndicated to Los Angeles. And I started listening to it. And it was revolutionary. We've been over it before. He didn't have to be cheesy or use a fake radio voice. He just was Howard. And I was hooked. And then after that, I thought, I have to get a morning show. And then, I ended up at WEQX and I met this night jock named Darwin.
Oh, that homo?
That's the one.
I got to go back to your mom, though. That just warms my heart.
Yeah, my mom was amazing. She dropped me off at KROQ. She got me into Howard Stern. But she wasn't the cool mom like you think. So here's the cool mom. Kids, if you're going to drink or do the pot, do it at our house so you're safe. No, my mom did not allow any of those kind of shenanigans. But she was actually really pretty loose with the rules when it came to hanging out and the people I had over. And yeah, I'm going to get emotional. She was the best.
But I'm still glad I got to meet her, and she was great. She was the cool mom when I got to.
So, Catherine, did you meet Adam Ant? Were all the ants there? No, Mom. They just live like on the records and come out through the speakers. They don't actually live at KROQ.
Cheers to your mom for the introduction to radio.
Thank you. Cheers, Mom.
You know what we should do is I think we should dedicate this episode to your mom.
Absolutely. My mom and my dad, who dropped their precious, obnoxious 13-year-old daughter at KROQ and changed my life.
Cheers to you, Mr. and Mrs. Kat's mom and dad.
This is last goddamn time I want somebody to use his fucking brain to not come out of a goddamn record that is that's up-tempo, and I gotta talk about a fucking dog dying.
You mind if I put this antenna up on yonder peak? That's our sacred mountain. This is our sacred antenna.